The used bookstore is warm in that slightly sad way. Heat trapped behind the front glass, while rain taps the window like it has nowhere else to go. Your fingers move along the spines without reading the titles, because your mind is elsewhere. Replaying him like a favorite scene, you also hate. There is the smell of damp paper and dust, and an old candle someone keeps lighting near the register. You tell yourself you came here to get out of the house, but really, you came here to feel held by something that cannot leave. You pull a book from the shelf, and it opens to a page already marked. In the margin, someone has written a small penciled sentence. Light as breath. It is not even about love. Not directly. But your chest reacts like it has been waiting all week to be touched in exactly this spot. You stare at it too long. And then the thought arrives. Quiet and cruel. What you miss is not only him, you miss the version of you that existed beside him. There was a way you walked when you thought you were chosen. A way you checked your reflection with softer eyes. A way your friends could not reach you when you were inside that private story. Because the story was the proof. And now that he is gone, the proof is gone, too. And you are left with the raw outline of yourself. This is where the grief gets complicated. It is not only the loss of a person, it is the death of a projection. The collapse of a picture you were holding in front of your life so you would not have to look straight at what was missing. The pain you feel is not a sign you are breaking. It is a sign something false could not survive any longer. You keep scrolling old messages like they are scripture. You read his silence like it is a hidden language you have to decode to earn your way back into the story. And then you realize how tired you are. So tired of begging a shadow to turn into a real man. Maybe you loved him. Maybe you did not. But you absolutely loved what he represented. A doorway out of loneliness. A rescue from the parts of you you did not know how to sit with. You were not only reaching for him, you were reaching for relief. If you are in the middle of this kind of heartbreak, I want to say something plain. Losing him can be necessary. Not because you deserved pain, but because the life you are meant to live cannot be built on being picked, pursued, or finally understood. It has to be built on you choosing yourself while your hands are still shaking. The laundry room light is too bright for how low you feel. It turns everything honest. The pale tile, the lint on the floor, the small mountain of clothes that somehow keeps reproducing even when your life is falling apart. The dryer thumps in a steady rhythm, like it is trying to teach you what consistency sounds like. You stand there with a sweater in your hands, the one you wore on the night you thought things were turning. The fabric is soft from overwashing, and there is a frayed thread at the wrist that your thumb keeps finding. Like a worry stone, you tell yourself you are just folding, but you are really touching the place where time has started to unravel. In your head, you replay the last conversation, the tone of his voice, the pause before he said he was tired, the way you tried to sound calm while your stomach dropped. You keep returning to the smallest details, as if you can rearrange them into a different ending. I hate that I do this. You think it without drama. Just a small confession to the humming machines. You know you are hunting for a sign that you mattered enough for him to come back. You know you are measuring your worth in the space between his messages. The dryer stops, and the sudden quiet feels like a door closing. You reach in and pull out warm clothes. Heat rising into your face like a breath. For a second you almost imagine he is nearby, that you could walk back upstairs and find his shoes by the door, his mug in the sink, his body in the hallway. The mind is skilled at building ghosts out of ordinary objects. You fold the sweater slowly, then unfold it, then fold it again, as if the extra care could make it new. And in that simple motion, something honest surfaces. What you are grieving is not just him, You are grieving the version of you who believed love meant being chosen. It is strange how heartbreak makes you feel younger, not in a cute way, in a helpless way. You can be a grown woman with a calendar full of responsibilities and still find yourself standing over a pile of laundry, praying for a text like it is a life raft. You pick up your phone and the screen lights up your palm. No new message, just your reflection faintly staring back, blurred by the glass. The dryer clicks again, cooling down, and you realize you have been living on that click for days. You set the phone down on the washing machine and place your hand on the warm lid, grounding yourself in something that is real: the thump, the heat, the detergent smell, the small frayed thread. You whisper a sentence you do not fully believe yet, but you want to. Some things only grow in silence. Later, in the bathroom, the shower runs too hot on purpose. Steam climbs the mirror and turns it into a blank wall. And for a minute you like that you do not have to see yourself. The towel hangs crooked on its hook, one corner dragging, like even the room is tired. You step out and catch the mirror anyway, through one small clear streak where your hand wiped without thinking. The face that looks back is yours, but it feels slightly unfamiliar, like you are wearing someone else's life for the evening. Your chest tightens, not from missing him exactly, but from the sudden question you keep trying not to ask. When you were with him, you had a role that fit you like borrowed clothing. You were the woman who could be patient, the woman who could be light, the woman who did not ask for too much. It worked until it did not. And now that the relationship is gone, the costume is on the floor and you are standing here with wet hair, shivering, not sure what to put on next. That is the part no one warns you about. Sometimes missing him is not romance. Sometimes it is withdrawal from an identity you rented because it made you feel safe from your own edges. You lean closer to the mirror and wipe another line through the fog. The glass squeaks under your palm, small and ordinary, and it steadies you. You see your eyes clearly for the first time all day, and it hits you that you are not just grieving a person. You are grieving the story that made you feel sheltered, the story where if he stayed, you never had to find out who you were without being wanted, the story where love meant relief. You turn off the light and leave the bathroom in the dark for a moment, listening to the house settle. Somewhere inside you, something quiet refuses to keep paying rent on a life that was never really yours. You go back to the used bookstore like it is a place you can grieve without being watched. The bell above the door gives a small, tired ring, and the air smells like rain-soaked coats and paper that has lived through other people's hands. You walk straight to the shelf you touched last time, as if your body remembers where the truth is kept. The book is still there, and when you open it, the penciled sentence in the margin looks different, not because the words changed, but because you did. You notice the pressure of the graphite, the slight shake in the handwriting, and you imagine the woman who wrote it pausing the same way you are pausing now. For a second you feel less alone, and then you feel something else, something sharper. You think about him, and the picture arrives automatically. The way you filled in his silences with meaning, the way you translated his inconsistency into mystery, his distance into depth, his half-presence into destiny. You were not lying to yourself on purpose. You were trying to survive the ache of not being met. And then you see it, clean as a line under a lamp. You were not only loving a man, you were loving a role you gave him, the rescuer, the mirror, the proof that you were finally the kind of woman someone would not leave. Jung would call this individuation, It is the slow work of becoming yourself instead of shaping your life around who might choose you. It looks like telling the truth about what happened, even when the truth ruins a beautiful story. You close the book and hold it against your chest, feeling the hard cover through your coat. The grief is still there, but it shifts. Like something in you has stopped negotiating with fantasy. Losing him was not the end of love. It was the end of a projection that could not carry you any further. The apartment hallway smells faintly like someone else's dinner. Garlic, warm oil, a trace of elevator metal, and that old carpet that never fully dries. The motion sensor light flickers when you step out, then steadies, then flickers again, as if even the building is unsure whether you are coming or going. You stop beside your door with your phone in your hand. You tell yourself you are only checking the time, but your thumb is already typing his name into the search bar. The screen glows against your skin, and your breath gets shallow in that familiar way, like your body has learned this ritual by heart. You start the message. Just one line, something casual, something that looks like you are fine. You can feel the shape of it forming, the way it would open the door without asking him to walk through. Then you pause, because you know what happens next. He replies late, or not at all. You reread your own words until they look desperate. You make a case for your worth in 12 different drafts. You call it love, but it feels like pleading. I almost text. I don't. You hold the phone a little farther from your face and read the message as if it were written by a friend. Your stomach drops with the clarity of it. The sentence is not a bridge. It is a sacrifice. You press delete. The little whoosh of the disappearing words is so small it should not matter. And yet your eyes sting. You slide the phone into your pocket like you are putting away a knife you kept turning toward yourself. The hallway is quiet again. Only the soft hum of someone's air conditioner behind a wall. You lean your shoulder against the door and let the urge pass without feeding it. A boundary is not always a speech. Sometimes it is a message you do not send, and a life you stop begging to be let into. The next afternoon, you take your notebook to the park like you are meeting someone important. The bench is worn smooth in the middle from years of bodies waiting on it, and dry leaves keep sticking to the bottom of your shoe as if the ground wants you to carry proof that you were here. The air is cold enough to make your fingers stiff around the pen. You sit and look at the page for a long time before you write anything. Your phone is in your bag, zipped, and you can feel it like a heartbeat you are refusing to listen to. Somewhere behind you, a dog barks, and a child laughs, and life keeps being life, indifferent and steady. For days, your mind has been arguing the same case. Maybe he was overwhelmed. Maybe he is scared. Maybe he will realize. Maybe you should give him time. The story keeps trying to soften him into something safe. You open the notebook and write a sentence in real ink, so you cannot pretend later that you never said it. I do not negotiate the minimum. You read it twice. And the words do not sparkle. They do not comfort you. They simply stand there. It is strange how a standard can feel like grief, not because it is harsh, but because it ends the fantasy that you can earn what should be freely given. It ends the bargaining. It ends the late-night overthinking that turns you into a detective of someone else's feelings. You close the notebook and rest your palm on the cover, feeling the slight texture under your skin. You look at the leaves on your shoe and brush them off, one by one, slow and careful, like you are practicing a new kind of loyalty. And you ask yourself a question that is both gentle and brutal. If a friend told you this exact story, would you tell her to keep waiting, or would you tell her to come home to herself? That night, the bathroom fills with steam again. The mirror fogs over until the room feels like it is holding its breath, and the towel is still hanging crooked, stubbornly imperfect. You turn on the faucet to rinse your hands and watch the water run clear. And you think about how many times you tried to make clarity appear in someone else. In your mind, you replay him in two versions, like a split screen. In one, he is tender, looking at you like you are rare. In the other, he is distant, regavity, distracted, gone without leaving a clean ending. Your heart keeps stitching these two men together into one, because one story is easier to survive than the truth. You step closer to the mirror and wipe one narrow stripe through the fog with the side of your hand. The glass squeaks, and there you are, caught in a thin, honest line. You are tired of guessing, tired of making meaning out of silence, tired of calling confusion a connection. You also see him, for a moment, not as a myth, but as a person who might be scared of being seen, a person who might not know how to stay, a person who might not even recognize what he is doing because he has been performing for so long. He thinks the performance is him. I notice how many women call it fate when it is actually familiarity. A pattern I keep seeing is the mind turning a person into a doorway, so you never have to walk through your own. Here's what tends to happen when the relationship ends. The projection breaks first. Then the real life begins to show itself. You swallow and look back at your own eyes. The mirror is not asking you to hate him. It is asking you to stop building your life around a question mark. It is asking you to stop feeding the part of you that would rather dream than risk being alone with the truth. You wipe another streak through the fog, wider this time. You can see more of your face, more of the room, more of what is actually here. The fantasy does not die in one dramatic moment. It dies in small, honest acts, like refusing to rewrite his absence into a love story. And in the quiet, you let the simplest sentence land. You do not need him to become real for you to become real. The next morning, you wake up before your alarm, and the room has that pale early light that makes everything look unfinished. You lie still and listen for your first thought, the one that usually reaches for him like a reflex. It comes, of course. A quick flash of his name, a question, a hunger for contact. Your hand moves toward your phone on the nightstand, then stops. Not because you are strong, but because you remember the park bench and the sentence in your notebook. You remember how it felt to write something that did not depend on him agreeing. In the hallway outside your apartment, the motion sensor light flickers again as you step out. You walk slowly toward the elevator. Then you keep walking past it, choosing the stairs instead, as if your legs want to prove you are capable of moving forward without an audience. The air smells like yesterday's cooking and someone's laundry detergent. Ordinary and real. Halfway down, you pull your phone from your pocket. Your thumb hovers over his contact, then over the empty message box. And you can feel the old instinct trying to bargain. Just say hi. Just be sweet. Just remind him you exist. Then you practice something quieter. Self-loyalty. It does not look like a speech. It looks like closing the screen, sliding the phone back into your pocket, and letting your heart complain without obeying it. You reach the lobby and push open the heavy glass door. Cold air meets your face, and you breathe in like you are meeting your own life again. You do not know what he will do next, but you know what you will do. You will stop explaining yourself to be loved. A week later, you find yourself back in the park, not because you are magically over it, but because you needed somewhere your thoughts could stretch out without hitting walls. The bench is still there, worn in the middle, and the same kind of dry leaves keep gathering at your feet, like quiet witnesses. The air has that sharp edge that makes your lungs feel clean, and you realize you have been craving clean. You sit with your notebook on your lap and open it to the page where you wrote your sentence. The ink is a little darker than you remember, like it settled into the paper while you slept. I do not negotiate the minimum. You read it once, and the urge to soften it does not rise the way it used to. Your grief is still present, but it has changed its posture. It no longer feels like an emergency siren demanding you run back to the same door. It feels more like a bruise that tells the truth about what happened when you kept leaning into what did not hold you. There is a moment where you remember him and your chest tightens, and you let it. You do not rush to turn it into a lesson or a prophecy. You simply notice the way memory moves through you, then moves on. The way a wave recedes when you stop chasing it. You think about that used bookstore and the penciled sentence in the margin. How it touched something in you that was already ready to wake up. Maybe losing him did not happen to punish you. Maybe it happened because a false story could not survive inside the life you are meant to live. You see now how much of the relationship was built on a picture of him as the one who would finally make you feel safe, special, chosen. A picture of yourself as the woman who could endure anything as long as love arrived at the end like a reward. But real love does not require you to disappear. Real love does not ask you to keep adjusting yourself until you fit someone's unfinished capacity. And if that sounds harsh, notice how your body responds when you imagine being with someone who does not make you audition for basic care. You close the notebook and press your palm to the cover, feeling the slight grit of the cardboard through your skin. The simple act feels like a seal. You are not closing your heart. You are closing a chapter where you kept calling confusion a connection. You stand and brush the leaves off your shoe, one by one. Careful, like you are learning how to treat yourself. The world around you keeps moving. A jogger passing, a couple arguing softly near the path, a bird hopping close enough to make you smile for no reason. Your life is still here, waiting for your attention. Here is the clean standard to carry with you when the longing tries to rewrite history. You do not build a future with someone who only loves you when you shrink. You build a future with someone who can meet you in the full size of your truth. And if today is one of the days you miss him, let it be a day you also return to yourself. Let the ache remind you of what you are no longer willing to trade away, even for the sweetest illusion. If you've lived this, tell me what the quiet taught you.